Welcome back to Big Riff Energy. Today we're doing a top 10 list because the last one I did was super popular and I got a lot of requests for subgenre. So today we're going to be talking about the top 10 greatest thrash metal albums ever made, because thrash metal is technically the first subgenre I became aware of, although Black Sabbath is my first love and my introduction to dark and heavy music. Still my favorite band ever. I guess technically thrash metal is the first subgenre that I discovered and dove into. Subscribe to this channel if you want more of these, because I'm going to go in the order that I discovered each subgenre. So today is thrash metal, but I'm going to be talking about
Southern sludge,
doom metal, death metal, black metal, even though I don't really like it, hardcore, crossover, everything in between, anything you guys request. So subscribe if you want to see more stuff like that. But today is all about thrash metal, so let's get down to it. These are the top 10 greatest thrash metal albums ever made. This list is in chronological order, so we're going to start in July 1984 with Ride the Lightning. Now I had Master of Puppets on the greatest metal albums of all time list, but I got this on the greatest thrash metal albums of all time list, because to me it's just more of a thrash album. By the time Metallica got to Master of Puppets and Justice for All, they had become so ambitious and progressive and were incorporating so many different elements that, yeah, those records can sort of be called thrash, but there's so much more than that. Ride the Lightning has that same sort of ambition, complexity, intelligence, but it is definitely a thrash metal record. You can make a case that Kill 'Em All should be on this list since it invented thrash metal, but I think Ride the Lightning is superior in every way. It's got everything great about Kill 'Em All and then some. It still has that youthful, pissed off, hormonal, testosterone-fueled aggression and energy, but it's more refined, it's more complex, the songwriting is just way better. Hetfield's vocals probably even sound meaner, but he's got a newfound confidence in his melodic sensibilities and he's just singing better. They're all playing better. It's just a giant leap forward. In fact, I think it's probably still the biggest leap forward that a band has ever made between albums. On most days, it's my favorite Metallica album, and it might be the best thrash metal album ever made. That's number 1, Metallica, Ride the Lightning. Put it on the shelf. Moving on to October 1985, we've got Overkill with Feel the Fire. Overkill's never made a bad record. Overkill is better live than anyone in the Big Four. There, I said it. You could really put almost any Overkill record on this list and it would fit right in. I tend to lean towards Feel the Fire because it's still got some of that new wave of British heavy metal influence. It is a thrash record, no doubt, but it's got a lot of fun Iron Maiden, Judas Priesty, almost like Thin Lizzy, Tigers of Pantang stuff here and there. Bobby Blitz sounds like an absolute maniac, as he does on every Overkill album. Is he the best thrash metal frontman? I'd say so. Did I say singer? I didn't say singer. I'll get to that later. But frontman, yeah, probably. And that is one of the coolest album covers ever made. So menacing, mean, scary,
hard.
That's number 2, Overkill, Feel the Fire. Put it on the shelf. Fast forward just about exactly a year to October 1986. Slayer, Rain and Blood. Yeah, the records before this one are good. Yeah, the 2 records after this one are good. But guys, they're not as good as this one. Nothing's as good as this one. That's number 3, Slayer, Rain and Blood. Put it on the shelf. Moving along to April 1987, the debut album by Testament called The Legacy. I love The New Order just as much as the next guy, but I think even the band would tell you they were sort of under the gun to get that one done, and there's a little bit of fillery, interlude-y stuff and a cover, whereas this debut record, every single song is a crusher. That main riff from Burn Offerings might be my favorite thrash metal riff ever written. Chuck Billy is my favorite thrash singer. He's the best one. Yeah, I said Bobby Blitz is the best frontman. It's 2 different things. Blitz is a great singer too. Chuck Billy's a good frontman too. But Blitz is the best frontman. Billy's the best singer. Nobody else in thrash metal can do what Chuck Billy does. And again, Testament doesn't have a bad album. Some are great, some are good, but none are bad. And again, live, better than anybody in the Big Four. And if you've seen them, you know it's true. That's number 4. Testament, The Legacy. Put it on the shelf. Oh boy. September 1987. When I was a young man, Jimmy Bower showed me this record. He said,
You want to hear the angriest record ever made?
he's not wrong. I still don't think there's anything as angry and hateful as this that I'm willing to listen to. Peter Steele channeling the absolute darkest, worst depths of the human condition and the human psyche. We are channeling the worst aspects of the human race here, folks. Xenophobia, thermonuclear war, race wars, self-loathing, paranoia, mental illness, misanthropic rage that is completely unbridled, extreme with a capital E. And we've also got some very imaginative, almost childlike imagination, in fact, fantasy writing. For instance, let's examine a song called Jesus Hitler, where we're dealing with a main character who is a human being born into a body possessed by the souls of both Adolf Hitler and Jesus Christ. And he is now faced with the inner conflict of not being able to determine if he's supposed to do the Holocaust or the Second Coming. Now, that song might offend you, upset you, hurt your feelings, but I guarantee you if Stephen King or Clive Barker wrote that story, it would sell millions and millions and millions of copies. But it just so happens Peter Steele wrote it for a thrash metal record. Or is it a crossover record? I don't know. Is it a hardcore record? Who cares? It's close enough to thrash that I put it on this list. If you listen to it while you are working out, your personal record will increase tenfold. That's World War #5, Carnivore, Retaliation. On the shelf. Now we're in April 1989. The band is Annihilator. The record is Alice in Hell. Full disclosure, before y'all start jerking off about Dark Angel not being on this list, they almost took this spot. I love Darkness Descends a lot. Who doesn't? But I feel like the Dark Angel resurgence right now is so strong that everybody knows about them and everybody knows about that record and how great they are. So I wanted to talk about something that I feel like still isn't getting its due, and that's the first Annihilator record. I discovered this band when Roadrunner was reissuing a lot of stuff, 2 albums in one package. And honestly, most of my life, I preferred Never Neverland. I bought the CD that had this and Never Neverland in it. However, upon review, I think we're faced with a situation where Never Neverland has higher peaks, but deeper flaws. Who let that guy sing the line, "It's Saturday, there's no more school"? Unforgivable. So I've determined that the first album edges out Never Neverland. I'm a guitar guy. I like guitar. If you like guitar, it doesn't get any better than Jeff Waters. He can do all the same type of shredding as the guys that I'm sure inspired him, like Uli John Roth and Eddie Van Halen, if I had to guess. But he can do all the cool, dumb shit that Angus Young does too. And all at the same time somehow. So if you like really, really badass guitar playing and decent singing and lyrics, check out the first Annihilator album. Shout out Jeff Waters, most underrated metal guitarist ever. That's number 6, Annihilator, Alice in Hell. Put it on the other side of the shelf. September 1990, Dave Mustaine, earlier that year, woke up in the desert thinking he was kidnapped because he overdosed and almost died. And as a result of all those horrible, horrible things, we were blessed with one of the most spectacular displays of musicianship in history. Megadeth, Rust in Peace. Highly recommend reading this book, by the way. Crazy shit. Marty Friedman was so good at guitar that he made Dave Mustaine relapse. Marty Friedman was so good at guitar that he made Dave Mustaine relapse. All right, all you
motherfuckers
that were talking shit in the comments on the last video, are you happy now? Shut the fuck up about Rust in Peace. It's awesome. We all know it's awesome. That's number 7, Megadeth, Rust in Peace. On the shelf. March 1991. Now, as we get into the 90s, the lines start to kind of blur between thrash metal, death metal,
death thrash.
People didn't care about all these dorky ass micro genres. Get over it. People were trying to have fun. Anyway, is this a death thrash? I don't know. It's a fucking thrash metal album. Sepultura, Arise. Something 10 times more evil about hearing vocals this aggressive with the Portuguese accent. There's not much I can say about Arise that hasn't already been said. I love Beneath the Remains too. I considered that album for this list. But dude, the breakdowns in Arise, Come on. Inspired a bunch of bands that I hate, but that's not their fault. Number 8, Sepultura, Arise. On the shelf. August 1991. To me, this is almost a death metal album. It almost sounds like Symbolic by Death or something like that. Even the vocals are kind of similar to later period Death. But what the fuck ever. Google says it's a thrash metal record. I guess most of y'all would probably say it's a thrash metal record. It's Coroner, Mental Vortex. I'm a guitar guy, I'm a song guy. I love people that can play the shit out of their instruments and write really intelligent, crazy, progressive stuff to a point. Still has to be heavy, still has to kick your ass. And this one does. Great workout album, also a great album for solving math equations and shit. That's number 9, Coroner, Mental Vortex. Onto the neutral area of the shelf. March 1992, this overlooked gem that is finally getting the recognition that it deserves, or at least approaching the recognition that it deserves. Demolition Hammer, Epidemic of Violence. Something about these New York guys, man. It's like they heard Carnivore Retaliation and were like, yeah, let's do something that pissed off. I wonder if we could get more pissed off. I don't think they did, but they tried, and it's really, really cool. Again, it's like this is almost death metal at this point. The 90s, yeah, getting blurry. Anyway, great record. Most people call it a thrash record. I love it. It's heavy. It's mean. Very, very angry. Playing the shit out of their instruments, but not trying to show off. Trying to make you very afraid. Number 10, Demolition Hammer, Epidemic of Violence. On the shelf. I'm going to mention a couple of more modern-ish thrash albums that I think I have to mention. I say modern-ish. One of them's almost 20 years old now. Kind of hard to believe. Municipal Waste, Hazardous Mutation. These guys totally revived the genre. This is a perfect record. Every second of every song is good. I saw these guys at a small bar in Oklahoma City on St. Patrick's Day right after this came out. One of the best shows of my life. Great dudes, great band.
Perfect
Record. I know everybody loves The Art of Partying, but Hazardous Mutation is a
perfect record.
Now, I'm also going to mention another modern classic that you can't really talk about thrash metal and ignore this album. It just wouldn't be right. So I'm going to mention it. Power Trip, Nightmare Logic. Duh. One of the best metal albums ever. Love the band, love the dudes, love the music. Perfect album. Municipal Waste, Hazardous Mutation on the shelf. Power Trip, Nightmare Logic. Although I do own a hard copy, we're going to float it on the imaginary shelf. So see what I did there? Anyway, guys, that's the best and greatest top 10 thrash metal albums ever made, plus 2 kind of more modernish masterpieces. Write me some hate mail in the comments. Tell me what I left off, because I left off a lot, including Dark Angel. I know. There's a bunch of others. I know. I want to hear your opinions, but if you're about to write something assholish, look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I projecting frustration and despair over my stupid, shitty life into the comments section of a random YouTube video? And then reconsider, or don't. See you next time. Thanks, guys.